The last weekend of the full league season meant celebration for some, but that sinking feeling for others. Watford are among the tearful teams going down. Out goes chairman Robert Chase after 10 turbulent years at Norwich. And from Anfield 89, we relive Arsenal's amazing late show.
But Thomas charging through the midfield. Thomas, it's up for grabs now. Thomas, right at the end.
And we follow events at Oxford United, where a packed house were at the Manor Ground to see if Oxford could get the win that would take them up from the second division. But we kick off at the bottom of the first, where the tension was almost unbearable for three clubs, Millwall, Portsmouth and Watford, all battling to avoid 2 relegation places. For Watford and Leicester City, the target was simple: win and then hope. The commentators are Ian St John and Brian Moore.
Heskey at the near post will be one of the targets. Indeed he is, but it was the fist of Kevin Miller that got it away. Whitlow again. Does well to get that one in. And it's gone in! And it's Blissett. Well, it's his first goal for the club. And it could be a priceless one. The lad on loan from Chelsea, the ball bobbing about there, and eventually Mustafa Izzet.
Well, I'm saying, Brian, that you can get goals from, you put the ball in the box, there's a lot of bodies in there, everybody challenging, and sure enough, Izzet is there, the ball came back to him, the poor headed clearance out and bang, nods it in.
Bit long. Watts is there for Leicester, and now Heskey. This is a good break by Heskey. Look at this for a bit of pace, and he's gone all the way through. And the keeper just does enough, but here's Izzet again. He does enough again. Terrific bit of play there. 2 excellent pieces of goalkeeping by Kevin Miller. And a great break by Emil Heskey.
Leicester are into the playoffs for the 4th year in 5, but after threatening to pull off a remarkable escape, Graham Taylor and Watford must now face up to life in Division 2.
It looked like it was always going to be a mistake that did it, and we're the ones that made the mistake, and we've got paid for it, so that's the way it goes.
But we're delighted we've won. That's all we've done. We've just achieved what people thought was an impossibility a couple of weeks ago. But, we're at miles to go yet.
Ipswich Town were on course for the playoffs. Millwall needed a win to guarantee their first division place, but it went wrong for both sides. The commentator is Tony Jones.
Williams to find Tariko. Now Sedgley. Matthew again in some room. Here's Milton. Scowcroft on the end of it. And it's back off the post. James Scowcroft, the closest that Ipswich have come this afternoon. But it's not close enough. Good header by Scowcroft. And nobody able to get on the end of it when he came back. And look at this. It's the substitute. It's Neil. And in the end, it was Thompson who just managed to get a foot in.
Yeah, Lucas Neil, if he'd have used his pace there, or perhaps he hasn't got too much, but he was clearly in behind Ipswich defence there. Had he gone direct, his touch should have been better. Klaus Thompson's the man who put him off, getting back there and causing him to go a little bit wide on the right foot.
Ben Thatcher, obviously disappointment for you.
Yeah, I haven't got really a lot to say. It's quiet in the dressing room. Just one of them things, the worst moment of my career at the moment.
Millwall are down because Portsmouth conjured up only their second win in 12. If he never scores again, teenager Dion Burton will always be remembered fondly for the 8th minute goal that ended up making the difference. Terry Fenwick's job as manager should be safe now. It's just unfortunate that certain elements of the support abuse the achievement with some disgraceful behaviour at the finish.
We give a lot of goals away in the last few minutes in games like that this season, which has put us in this position. So hopefully, hopefully we can rectify it next season and hopefully not get in this situation again.
Champions they might be, but Sunderland's achievement brought out the best in Tranmere Rovers, who saw their ground swollen to capacity and record receipts by the huge travelling support. And after Sunderland had missed several chances, Kenny Irons headed Rovers into the lead. John Aldridge is yet to taste defeat as player-manager. He made it 6 games unbeaten as boss and 30 goals for the season as player. A defeat brought the curtain down on Derby's excellent season as well. Not that Jim Smith will be too concerned. His understrength side contributed to an exhilarating game, triggered off by Andy Hunt's thumping shots. Nearly 24,000 were at the Hawthorns. Most of them were unhappy with Derby's equaliser. Paul Simpson was offside but not interfering, so Dean Sturridge could run through and become the first Derby player to score 20 league goals in 11 seasons. Richard Schneekers probably wishes the season wasn't coming to an end. The Dutchman signed off with his 10th in 13 games. 2 minutes from time, one of Derby's new signings, Ashley Ward, equalised for a second time. In the summer, Derby could re-sign Dean Saunders. He looks set to come back after a year in Turkish football. But it was a West Brom striking favourite who stole the points. 60 seconds from the end, Hunt wriggled his way into the area, but the crucial touch came from Bob Taylor, his 100th goal for West Brom. Guaranteed third place, Dave Bassett rested several key players, and it showed. While 2 teenage debutants were settling in, Norwich City's Sean Carey dashed down the right, and Palace's David Hopkin headed into his own nest. If Crystal Palace make the playoff final, defender Gareth Davis won't be part of it. 5 minutes from half-time, Davis bundled over Jamie Curitan, a professional foul according to the referee, and Davis was off. Nearly 20,000 squeezed into the Victoria Ground, where Stoke's amazing home form didn't desert them when it mattered. Neither did the goal-scoring record of Mike Sherran, in like a flash to volley in and guarantee 4th place. The fans were delighted. Ever the realist, the manager wasn't.
We're in the playoffs. It's been a hard game for us today. We've been very nervous. We haven't played that well either. If we're to progress in the playoffs, we'll need to play a lot better in the next games.
They've been in the top 6 all season. In the end, Charlton Athletic did just enough to make the playoffs. Here's John Helm.
Lieben's desperately trying to find space in there against Eric Young. There's a real skirmish. There's Lieben, and it's got in! Carl Lieben for Charlton Athletic. His menace has been there for all to see. And from the corner kick, Carl Lieben rose above the Wolves defenders. His was the header, which was maybe deflected in right on the line. Carl Lieben takes the credit with his 10th of the season. And it's Charlton 1, Wolves 0. Now one for Glenn Crowe to chase in company with Barmer. And Crowe's created problems, and ball's in the middle. Oh, what a goal! Glenn Crowe smashes the ball into the Charlton net from the most amazing angle. He battled away there against Barmer, and with everybody expecting him to pull the ball back for Steve Bull, Glenn Crowe lashed the ball with his left boot, and it flew past Petterson into the Charlton net, and Wolves have an equaliser out of the blue. Well, now that clearing header by Barmer has gone to Crowe. Oh, and he's done well again here, Crowe, and he's released Darren Ferguson, and Ferguson produces the save of the match from Andy Petterson. Charlton yet again. How many times have they come forward in this half without reward? Typical of their end to the season, to be fair. But just one goal could be enough. It's a good ball in. Here's Gary Nelson. Oh, how close can you go?
Well, I think at the start of the season we were relegation candidates, and I think up until the last 6 or 7 games we had a chance of going up. I thought we played ever so well today. I really wanted to win and win with a couple of goals, just to end the season on a high, so we can go into the playoffs on a high. But I think the way we've played today has given us the right boost.
Both these sides experienced life at the very bottom of Division 1 during the season. At times, both were strong favourites for the drop. If Port Vale had clung on to Tony Naylor's goal, they would have moved above Sheffield United. But Andy Walker maintained his end-of-season form, and after just one defeat in 14, United finish in 9th position. But for better home form, Barnsley's season might not have fizzled out. Regulars in the top 6 before Christmas, Danny Wilson's side couldn't maintain that momentum. John McDermott ran in on the blind side to put Grimsby in front 4 minutes in. Fittingly, Barnsley's driving force from midfield, captain Neil Redfern, scored the equaliser. It says much for Barry Fry's style that only 2 players who began the season in Birmingham's team were still around at kick-off yesterday. One of them, Jonathan Hunt, laid on the first goal for Paul Barnes. Reading were level with a fine goal of their own. Mick Gooding almost crashed in one of the goals of the season. Lee Nogan pounced on the rebound. Having guaranteed their survival with a midweek win over Wolves, Reading made sure they'd finish above Mark McGee's new side. Jimmy Quinn turned in the winner. Luton were down, but it still took Oldham 84 minutes to breach their defence. Sub Stuart Barlow arrived just in time. The Oldham manager Graham Sharp hopes it will help him get a new contract. Sunderland and Derby were promoted last week. At Crystal Palace were certain of third. Stoke and Leicester won. Charlton's draw means Ipswich miss out on the playoffs after their 0-0 draw with Millwall, who are down. Leaders before Christmas, Millwall have won just twice in 3 months. They're relegated because Portsmouth have scored more goals, and Watford joined them after failing to beat Leicester. Norwich City's season ended in momentous fashion. Nothing to do with promotion or relegation, but the exit of chairman Robert Chase after 10 years.
At 12 o'clock today, I sold all my shares in Norwich City Football Club to Mr. Watling. Those shares could now not be in safer hands. Very sadly for me, perhaps my saddest moment, was at 2 o'clock today when I resigned as a director of Norwich City Football Club.
It was what the fans had been demanding after a dreadful slide out of the Premiership last season and then Martin O'Neill's walkout to Leicester at Christmas. O'Neill claimed that Chase failed to come up with transfer funds. There had been good times for Chase at Carrow Road. Norwich finished 5th, 4th and 3rd in the top flight and tasted the heady atmosphere of European football. But Chase took the rap for the departure of manager Mike Walker and players like Woods, Watson, Bruce and Townsend. But it was the sale of Chris Sutton for £5 million to Blackburn that broke the fans' hearts. Their bitterness was heightened by increasing financial problems and Chase's stubbornness to do it his way. He sold his majority shareholding to Geoffrey Watling, a former chairman, but it's still seen as the start of a new era. Watling's rumoured to be interested in bringing Mike Walker back to Norwich in the summer. They're small in size and relatively young, yet Oxford United have squeezed a lot into their 34 years in the Football League. And for sheer tension, Saturday compared with any day in the club's history. Everyone in Oxford knew the equation. A win would clinch promotion from the second division and crown the first full season for chairman Robin Hurd, a millionaire design engineer with a sporting pedigree of his own. Hurd founded March Cars. He's masterminded wins in the Indy 500 and the Le Mans 24-hour race. And things have certainly moved quickly since his arrival among the footballing world at Oxford.
They're not quite as vociferous, shall we say, at Formula One races, but they're as supportive. And it's in many ways the same, many ways different. I mean, there's so much money for a start riding on it. But today it never occurs to you. And all you want to do is win, which we ought to.
The chairman's beaming confidence was certainly mirrored around the manor ground. Oxford were the league's form team. From a place on the fringe of the playoffs a few months earlier, Oxford had won 13 games in 16 to move into the second automatic promotion place. Yet for all their vigour and commitment, they couldn't capitalise on their first half domination. Even Joey Beecham, Oxford's inspiration during their wonderful run, looked nervous. 5 minutes before half-time, Paul Moody engineers another wonderful opportunity. But his striking partner David Rush somehow shot over from just 6 yards out. And a real sense of doubt descended. Oxford's nearest challengers, Blackpool, were winning, and Dennis Smith sat down for the second half, knowing his team had to score. The commentator is John Helm.
Oxford's first real inkling of hope in the second half. A Beecham corner. Charlery, an own goal! Of all things, it's an own goal. Moody. That was nicely done, and here goes Rush, who's been one of the better players for Oxford. Here comes the cross. Hook back across the face of goal. Moody with the header. 2-0, and that's the one, maybe, to send Oxford up. Chances of a third goal here. Massey, Elliott, and that's 3. And the party can begin. Peterborough torn apart. 2 goals in 2 minutes from the 2 big men. Given away, and the ball in here is for Rush. He can make it 4. Surely, yes! There's a goal for David Rush now. The jersey's off. And Oxford, who took so long to get into their stride today, are cantering to promotion this time.
On the bench, Dennis Smith and his assistant Malcolm Crosby could begin to enjoy their achievements. Last season, Oxford had been title favourites and division leaders before Christmas, but they blew up so badly they didn't even make the playoffs. This season, having been overshadowed by their local rival Swindon for so long, Oxford's timing has been impeccable. And promotion is just one step in the right direction. Oxford move into a new purpose-built stadium in 15 months' time.
4 points, Swindon, and promotion. I got a lot of good fan mail when we were not doing well before Christmas. People appreciated what we were trying to do, the way we were playing the football, and they were all saying it would come right, and the chairman stayed behind me, and he's been proved right as well, which I'm delighted with. There's a good spirit in all of the club, the players, the staff, the football staff, the non-football staff, the crowd. It's good. It helps a lot, the fact that we're winning. The real test will come when we have a bad patch. And I think there's, the spine's there, the steel's there in all of those quarters, the crowd, the players, the staff. We'll pull through that. We'll do all right. We're not going into the first division just to stand around and make up the numbers. We expect to go in there and compete. I've got a meeting with the chairman on Monday, and we'll be deciding what players we're going to buy and how much money I've got to spend, and we'll be going in there to have a go.
That's it for part 1. Coming up, we'll resolve all the other promotion and relegation issues in Divisions 2 and 3, and we relive one of the most dramatic finales there's ever been to a Football League season. Join us after the break. For the second year running, the Premiership title was decided on the final weekend. But for real last-day drama, nothing compares to May '89. Outsiders Arsenal went to Anfield, having to win by 2 goals to snatch the title and deny Liverpool the double.
Into Byrne and Richardson behind it. Adams has made a darting little run in there. And Smith! And Arsenal have scored. The Liverpool players are surrounding the referee, asking him to speak to a linesman. Ronnie Whelan looking on there. The goal's been given. And what a game we have now. Adams is after his man, but Barnes will not be denied. Yes, he will, by Richardson a moment ago, down and injured. Arsenal come streaming forward now in surely what will be their last attack. A good ball by Dixon, finding Smith. But Thomas charging through the midfield. Thomas, it's up for grabs now. Thomas, right at the end. An unbelievable climax to the league season. Well into injury time, the Liverpool players are down, absolutely abject. Aldridge is down, Barnes is down, Dalglish just stands there. Nichols on his knees, McMahon's on his knees. Suddenly it was Michael Thomas bursting through. The bounce fell his way. He flips it wide of Grobbelaar. Set the final whistle. Arsenal, the champions. A momentous occasion this for Arsenal. Coming here requiring a 2-goal lead, and snatched it in the most dramatic fashion in the last minute of the game.
Second Division champion Swindon Town hoped to sign off in style in front of their home supporters, but Stockport were not there to make up the numbers. Keeper Neil Edwards enjoyed an outstanding game. Steve McMahon rates this success as greater than anything achieved during his playing days with Liverpool and England. Blackpool can look forward to the playoffs. This victory at Bootham Crescent against relegation-threatened York came too late. Oxford claimed the second automatic promotion spot. Andy Morrison with Blackpool's first on 6 minutes. And 5 minutes from time, Tony Ellis confirmed the victory and the 3 points. York need a point themselves from their final game with Brighton if they're to stay up. Victory for Chesterfield, but little consolation as they just missed out on a top 6 finish. Their winner came from the penalty spot. Tom Curtis was brought down by Sean Derry, and Nicky Law scored from the spot against his old club, but it's County who will figure in the playoffs. Jan Mulby is already planning for the new season, but the Swansea manager saw his relegated team end their league campaign with a flourish. The club's top marksman, Steve Torpey, on target again 10 minutes before half-time. That lead was cancelled out early in the second half. Mark Rivers with the equaliser for playoff certainty's Crew. And with only 4 minutes left, David Thomas secured only their 8th league triumph at the Vetch. If Swansea can reproduce performances like this, Mulby will be hopeful they can come back up at the first time of asking. Hull's final game in Division 2 marred by crowd trouble. The Football Association have promised an inquiry. Bradford duly took their place in the playoffs, but they had to come from behind twice. Gavin Gordon struck first for Hull City after just 10 minutes. But within a minute, Bradford were back on level terms. Mark Stallard with a neat turn and a convincing finish. It didn't take Hull long to restore their 1-goal advantage. Dwayne Darby was allowed to almost walk the ball into the net as the Bradford defence went missing. Lee Duxbury replied for them before the break. Ian Ormondroyd was the provider. Duxbury's effort was mistimed, but still went in. The goal settled their nerves, 2-2, and one more twist of the tail to come as they went in search of the elusive winner which would make their season. Carl Shutt came up trumps 11 minutes into the second half, and they could yet be playing in the First Division next season. To Millmore for Rotherham against Wrexham, Alistair Mann is the commentator.
And it's 3-on-4. Wrexham just one man down at the moment, but Connolly's pulled himself wide. Being urged on. Going alone, and it's going to go in from Morris. They've got the goal that their efforts deserved.
Bristol Rovers bid farewell to Twerton Park. Come August, they'll be sharing the city's rugby club headquarters, the Memorial Grounds. Understandably, they were keen to make one last impression. Marcus Browning took a quarter of an hour to make his mark and leave Wycombe Wanderers chasing the game. England under-21 international Marcus Stewart, playing what surely will be his final match before a big money move in the summer, put them further ahead after 55 minutes. Goal number 30 for a player with a bright future in the game. His contribution won't have gone unnoticed. West Ham linked with him. Harry Redknapp, their manager, among the crowds. Dave Carroll pulled a goal back for Wycombe late in the game, but it was Rovers' day. Walsall extended their unbeaten run to 7 matches. It's been a successful campaign for the much-travelled Kevin Wilson. 3 minutes from the interval, he volleyed in his 19th goal. And it was a memorable afternoon for the YTS player, Michael Ricketts, who came on off the subs bench to score Walsall's second. Brighton supporters once again demonstrated against Chief Executive David Bellotti. They blame him for the club's demise. Brighton, of course, already relegated, managed an impressive late strike from Stuart Mile. Their fixture list not yet complete. 1 game to go against York City. Carl Asselberg was the star of the show at Griffin Park as Brentford won this mid-table meeting. His 50th minute header handed them the initiative, and he went on to double their lead. Bob Taylor set up the opportunity with this determined run, and Asselberg enhanced his growing reputation. The margin of victory could have been greater, but Taylor missed an early penalty. Adrian Heath was handed the responsibility of maintaining Burnley's second division status. He achieved that aim. There are signs that his Turf Moor revolution is taking shape. Paul Weller with a simple opener after a quarter of an hour. Shrewsbury, who find themselves in the lower reaches of the table, having flirted with relegation, were back in the match just before half-time through Ian Stevens' headed goal. But 18 minutes from time, Mark Winstanley ensured Burnley finished their league programme 6 points clear of the drop zone and with plenty to build on over the coming months. Carlisle, though, still don't know where their future lies. It hinges on the result of York's match with Brighton, which is still to be played. They held their cause with a home win at the expense of Bristol City. Paul Conway put them ahead in the 10th minute. City, though, were gifted an equaliser when Jamie Robinson's attempted interception ended in disaster. The Carlisle defender only succeeded in directing the ball past his own keeper. 5 minutes later, Carlisle were back in front as their opponents conceded an obvious penalty. Steve Hayward made no mistake with the spot kick. Now they must wait to discover their fate.
Swindon are champions. Oxford's 4-0 win over Peterborough takes them up as well. Blackpool won but must now face Bradford in the playoffs. Crewe and Notts County meet in the other semi-final. Who fills the fourth relegation place is still unknown. Carlisle's win means York City, who lost to Blackpool, have to get a draw in their game at Brighton. Rescheduled for this Thursday, May the 9th, kick-off 11 a.m. The original fixture was abandoned last week because of crowd trouble. Carlisle are livid about the new date. They say York now have an unfair advantage and they've threatened to sue the Football League.
It is unacceptable, their behaviour is appalling, and it shows absolutely ridiculous, a ridiculous standard of leadership. I should be calling for resignations.
They should have made a decision and everybody should then know exactly what the situation is. As far as I'm concerned, we've finished our 46-game season. We are fifth bottom. We shouldn't go down.
Preston's largest crowd of the season turned out to celebrate the club winning the third division title. An amazing 18,700 fans packed into Deepdale, and they weren't let down as Andy Saville took his tally to 30. It took until 20 minutes from the end for them to stretch their advantage. Graham Atkinson tried his luck from long range, and it nearly paid off. The ball smashing against the post. Fortunately for them, Steve Wilkinson was on hand to knock in the rebounds. Preston, then promoted as champions, they step up in class and must now come to terms with the demands of second division football. Gillingham will be joining them nearly a year after going out of business. The performance, though, was anything but convincing. Striker Leo Fortune West's header was good enough to defeat Scarborough by the single goal. Heartbreak for Darlington, who were highly confident of winning promotion at Scunthorpe. Their away record is hugely impressive, just one defeat. John Eyre threatened to put a dent in that. Darlington behind with only 4 minutes on the watch. And a half an hour later, Eyre staged a repeat performance. 2 down, the game looked out of Darlington's reach. But the fight back began on the hour mark as Scunthorpe conceded the penalty. Matt Appleby put away the spot kick to give them some hope. And that comeback gathered pace as 8 minutes later, with the Scunthorpe keeper Gary Germain caught in no man's land, Robbie Blake nodded in the equaliser. There was a dramatic finish to the match, 2 goals in the final 4 minutes. Scunthorpe, who were assured of a mid-table finish, could have been tempted to ease up. Instead, they pressed for the winner, with Andy McLoughlin putting them back in front. Mark Bernard pulled Darlington level a minute later with a headed goal from a set piece, and it finished 3-3. That scoreline meant Bury could pip them for the one available promotion place. Struggling Cardiff were no match. They found themselves trailing to a David Pugh goal after 25 minutes. The second half saw Bury confirm their superiority. David Johnson ignored the attentions of his marker, kept his composure, and was rewarded as the ball dropped into the net. Bury were on a roll. Tony Rigby added the third, to make sure there was no way back for Cardiff. An emphatic victory, but would it be enough? The fans awaited the news of Darlington's results. Their rivals had only drawn. The celebrations could begin. Bury were promoted. Next to home park for Plymouth's match with Hartlepool. Commentary from Martin Dean.
Well, they're looking to get the cross in towards Littlejohn. Evans, laid off for Littlejohn. Littlejohn puts it away, and Argyle have taken the lead. And we've played less than 2 minutes on the watch. Billy leaving it for Barlow. Cross in towards Heathcote, who's on the line. Well, that's number 2 for Argyle. And better then with the corner. Logan is in the middle. Towards him, Logan with a header, and he scored!
Hereford joined Plymouth in the playoffs. It took them until the stroke of half-time to break through a stubborn Rochdale defence. Nicky Cross judging the angle to perfection. It's the goal scoring of Steve White which has kept the club in the chase for honours. Coming up, his 33rd goal of the season. A veteran he may be, but his value to the team can't be overstated. Wigan lost out on a playoff place as they suffered a surprise home defeat by Northampton. There was no sign of what was to follow when, 11 minutes in, Mark Leonard climbed highest to edge Wigan in front. Ian Atkins' Northampton team produced a stirring fight back. Ian Sampson made it all square with a close-range finish. And in the final minutes, the club's leading scorer, Jason White, who'd been brought on as a substitute, broke Wigan's hearts. White first to Neil Grayson's knockdown. Wigan 1, Northampton 2. Colchester took the final playoff spots. Their upturn in form, which saw them lose 2 out of 16, proved decisive. Paul Gibbs, the match winner, just before half-time. The player admitted afterwards it was meant as a cross, but as Wembley beckons, that won't bother him. Layer Road was a scene of celebration as Colchester stay in the hunt for promotion. Chester were another side who narrowly missed out, that despite winning their final game. Leroy Chambers set them on their way with a scrambled goal after 66 minutes. Ian Robinson's razor-sharp reactions looked to have done enough to earn Mansfield a point. But in the last minutes, Chris Priest slid in the winner, but results went against them, and Chester will be playing in the 3rd Division next season. The Arsenal manager Bruce Rioch was among the crowd at Underhill. He saw Sean Devine steal the show with a 2-goal display. The Fulham defence fell apart as Devine opened his accounts on 4 minutes. The player then turned creator to send Lee Hodges racing into space. Hodges decided to go it alone, and the choice was the right one. Barnett 2 up, and Devine capped a fine individual performance with Barnett's 3rd in the closing minutes. Manager Ray Clements now believes they have a solid foundation to build on as they bid for honours. A bad-tempered affair at the Abbey Stadium, 3 players sent off, including Cambridge's Tony Richards and Orient's Mark Warren for the challenge on Trevor Benjamin, which led to a penalty, converted by Micah Hyde. Glenn Cockrell was next to go for a second bookable offence. Cambridge stretched their lead from the penalty spot. Kevin Austin penalised for that challenge, and Micah Hyde scored his 2nd of the match to condemn Orient to their 15th away defeat in the league. Another heavy defeat for bottom club Torquay. Their league status is safe, thrashed 5-0. Colin Outside started the ball rolling as early as the 2nd minute. Jason Burnett increased Lincoln's lead from the penalty spot. Outside then claimed his 2nd and Lincoln's 3rd of the game. Eddie May, who'd agreed to stay on for this match despite resigning as Torquay boss in the week, must have wished he stayed away as substitute Brett Story hammered in Lincoln's 4th. Stephen Holmes completed the route. Now Torquay begin their search for a successor to May. Russell Osman, Roger Gibbons and Steve McCall head the shortlist.
Darlington began the day in 3rd place, but their failure to win means Bury are up after beating Cardiff. Plymouth, Darlington and Hereford are joined in the playoffs by Colchester, who squeezed in because Wigan lost. So did Torquay United, beaten again, but they'll live to fight on next season, it seems. The conference champion Stevenage cannot be promoted.
Sheffield United have written one of the success stories of this season. 3 more teams can, of course, still be promoted through the playoffs. Watch out for coverage on ITV over the coming weeks. But that's it from Endsleigh League Extra. It's been an eventful year, all right. We'll see you next year. Bye-bye.